Abstract expressionist art is known by its bigness. Take a look at this stuff on my wall. Big canvas, big color, big movement and energy. It is just amazing when you see a piece of abstract that big and powerful. So how do you take something that's known for its bigness and shrink it down into a mini abstract like this? Hey, join me today. We're going to talk about making mini abstracts. Come on into my studio. Hi everyone, this is Beverly Todd at Santa Fe Artist Getaway. Let's go make some art. Let's start with a little background about what is abstract expressionist art. It's a physical response in movement and energy to creating paint a piece of art. It has visual content of line, color, movement, texture, context, energy. So it's big, like it is on the canvas here. Those very same things are what we're going to take into a small canvas. There's energy, there's movement, there's line, there's color, there's value, there's focal point, and your eye moves around the art. So all we're doing is taking the big stuff, shrinking it down onto a small canvas. So when you create a piece of art, are each of you starting out with intent? I'm talking about a specific idea of the theme, the story of your art, how you will create it, what will you be using for tools and mediums, what's your color palette, what do you want it to look like at the end. I have a practice of taking all of that and jotting it down on a piece of paper and posting it up here on the wall while I create my big abstract art. I want you to do the very same thing when you create these small pieces. Have a specific intent in mind before you start. Now, the cool thing about abstract art is along the way, you're going to learn and discover things. There's going to be serendipity. There's going to be happy little accidents. And feel free to go with the flow when that happens. But as you're going along and maybe you're feeling a little lost, go back to your intent. Are you on track? Are you following what you said you were? Now, you might have noticed that I said series of art because I strongly encourage you to always work in a series. A series of art or paintings is the same work on different variables, the same theme, the same color palette, the same energy, the same topic. There's something that ties all the pieces together. And the uniqueness, what makes it really cool about working in a series is that you can push and pull each piece along the way. One might be deeper, richer colors. One piece might be quiet. One piece might be blue with an accent of orange. One piece might be orange with an accent of blue. So what I'm talking about? So when I start a big piece, I mix up paint. The big one on my background is a great example. And I always have a couple little wood panels beside me to create in the series. So here are the small series. Those same colors and energies and movement. This painting was about a fall hike up in the mountains here in Santa Fe. So what was the mountain feeling like? These are the colors. And here's another one in that series. So this gives you the ability to explore as you're moving through the series. So now let's talk about the materials that you'll be using when you create your mini abstracts. I love working on these cradled wood panels. This one is an 8" by 8" square, 1.5 inches thick on the side. It's called cradle wood because it has this nice frame supporting it around the edge. And then the surface is a beautiful smooth birch or balsa wood. So this one's finished. So here's an example. You can see the supply list at the end of the video. This is a Dick Lick product, a premier wood. And I really love the 1.5 to 2 inch, so you can see the size difference here. You can go down to a 7/8 inch thick piece on this one. Or I go all the way up to 12 by 12 inches, this piece. Let's take a quick look at the supplies you need to make mini abstracts on cradled wood panel. First you have the cradled wood panels. These are from Dick Lick. I checked online this morning. The 8" by 8" square we're selling for about $12. When you buy them in bulk of like about 10. Have good quality paint. Do not use craft paint. Do not use house paint. Do not use cheap paint of any kind. This is Nova Color paint that I love. It's out of California. You can find it at novacolor.com. Ask for this really cool paint chip. It's actual swatches of paint. I mix all my own colors. We'll take a look at those in a little bit. The Golden, Liquitex, Utrecht. There's a lot of good professional paint colors. Get those. If your mark making tools are really important because that's the hallmark of abstract art, is cool marks. So here's a few that I use. These are a fat graphite that come in several colors, Stewart's intense graphites. I use a Lyrica graphite sticks, and then just plain pencils. Even a number 2 pencil from your pencil box works. Mark making tools, stock up on those. Then we have mediums that we'll be using. We have clear gesso, white gesso that we'll prep our wood with, a glazing medium that we will seal our marks with, and then a matte medium or gloss medium if you want to collage, apply anything, mix it with your paint. And then the last on our materials list is finishing product. You'll want to seal all of yours with a poly seal. This big jug is golden and it's already mixed up half and half water and varnished. And at the very end I'm going to show you some different finishes. But some people like to use this Mim Wax polyacrylic product. You can find it in the hardware store for about $50–60 a gallon. Lasts forever. Then finally, there's just some plain old wood finish here because at the very end, when you have a raw edge of a board like this, you can stain it beautifully with plain wood stain like these. Okay, enough talking. Let's start playing with paint. Well, gesso first. So this is a blank, nice smooth cradled wood panel. And I'm going to show you how to prep the surface. There's 3 ways you can do it. Number 1, you can leave it blank, which we're going to do in this test. You can put clear gesso on it or white gesso. So let's start with clear gesso in the middle. And it goes on white. It dries really nice and clear. And once it dries, you're going to want to take a sanding block like this and knock it down a bit because moisture will raise the surface. This is a white gesso. And it goes on about the same color, but it is going to stay white. So there are your 3 types of finish. Use the white gesso if you really want a nice smooth matte finish where you want your colors to pop. Clear gesso, if you like your wood to show through, I do like that. That's part of the personality. And I'm going to be really honest with you, I've done all 3 of these. I like this nice smooth wood because it really is the personality, the flavor of the substrate that you're working on. So earlier today, I did 3 of these again, the white, the clear, and the plain. And let's tear them off and then you can kind of see the difference of how they look. So a little bit of difference between the clear and the plain. Also when you're prepping your canvas, if you'd like to keep the edges clean, put the painter's tape around the edge. And then at the end, you can put the wood stain on this edge. Personally, I like to paint all the way around the edges. Take the story all the way around the edge of your little wood panel. Let's get started with color now. I recommend working in a series of colors for your series of mini abstracts. Now, you can break all the rules you want, but here's a tip that's an easy way to start to make sure your color family series of art goes well together. Grab a color wheel and pick the family of colors that are autologous, side by side each other on the color wheel, like greens, blues, purples, or yellows, orange, and red. Pick those 3 and start with those. They'll be probably 2/3 to 3/4 of your painting. They're the dominant color. Then go across the color wheel, and this is your pop of color. So in the case of yellow, your pop is purple. So today in the demos, I mixed up a series. I am going with the blue-greens with a pop of red. Now, your colors don't always have to be exactly as vibrant. They can be shades of that. So let me show you an example of that. I'm calling this series, my intention is to paint Santa Fe Winter Sunset. And the colors are super soft, but yet there's actually watermelon snow at night because when the sun sets, it's so vibrant, the snow turns pink. So these are the colors of a Santa Fe sunset. So here is my color family here, the colors that are side by side on the color wheel, the blues and the greens. And then my accent is the red across. In this case, the red is a dusty rose. Then I always have a dark and a light, a black and a white. In this case, it's beige and then a deep color of shade. So all of these colors I hand mix. I rarely use color right out of the tube or out of the bottle. I want every piece of art to be totally unique, so I mix these colors, one of my favorite things. Okay, we've done all the prep work. We are ready to start on our cradled wood. So these two panels have the white gesso on them. We're going to start by knocking it down with a little sanding block and making it nice and smooth, wiping off so all the dust is off of there. So I begin my large abstracts as well as these small ones with mark making. Again, the mark making tools are just a graphite pencil, the Duart's chubby charcoal, the Lyrica graphite, and then I'm also going to use paint. I like to start with black, so because these are small, I'm going with a smaller brush. So this is getting your DNA on the surface of your canvas. Now, we all make marks and walk and talk, dance and sing in a unique voice. So this is your voice on your canvas. This is layer number 1. And small abstracts all the way up to big abstracts could have anywhere up to 20, 30 layers. So let's get some marks, some foundation. This is also, I call this putting the scaffolding on. When you build a house, you have scaffolding, you put down the foundation, you have the structure that you build the art onto. So there's an idea what the different mark making tools look like. I love starting with a dark black. It's kind of like, you know, they say in your living room you should have a piece of black light shade, a pillow, something dark, something to anchor it. So I do the same thing. And right now I am not thinking about composition too much. I'm playing around with line, shape, movement, energy, laying down the foundation. Your water bottle is also a great friend, so you can get some great movement and energy. Now that alone is looking pretty cool. So this one we're going to let bleed and smear. This one, where we use the fatter Duart's glue, I'm going to show you, you can seal this up so it does not smear. If you leave it raw, which is a great technique, it will smear and get mellow and look really yummy into your paints. So it just depends on what you like. So to seal it up, I use a glazing medium. This one's Liquitex. There's a lot of good ones. I usually have it poured into a little tub like this, so I can grab a spatula and then put it on over top. Now, I don't know how well you can see this, but I love the softness, the lines, the smearing that happens with this. You could leave some of it sealed, some of it not sealed. It's just a really neat technique. Layer number 1 is done. Let's start building it up. Now, I talked about working at the series, and you can see I have 7 cradle wood panels going right now. These are in the same color family, the same series, that Santa Fe winter sunset color. All of my paint is mixed up over here, and these little 1-pint containers, get them on Amazon. Mix up your paint, put it inside, mark the lid with the name and the date. These will stay forever. But because it is so dry here in Santa Fe, I will spray the surface of these to keep them moist, and the water will evaporate off first before the paint starts getting thick. Everything's ready to go, so I can move around on all of these pieces, adding layers, pushing, pulling, going from light to dark. So I'm just going to paint for a little bit, and you can watch as I kind of move around and add layers to each of these panels. You know, I'm kind of liking this. The mark maker that I used is kind of a bronzy brown. So this one might end up staying in a really soft neutral color family. This is the beige that I mixed up. So this one might be in all those warm tones of white, beige, bronze. And I do use the same brush. I am not a neat freak because that serendipity is what makes it absolutely beautiful. And I will often go back in with a wet brush to get those soft lines. This one I am painting around the edges, so you notice as I go, keep the story going. You don't want the edge to just look like an afterthought. You can go back in and keep making marks. I use the back of the paintbrush to scrape in and tell a story. And even though this is going to be the same color family, I love that it's very neutral. So let's just bring in some of that pink, some of that story. Shadow, the darkest dark. Your interest points are going to happen where the light and dark meet. That's the greatest area of contrast. So make sure you have some of those built up. Even in a quiet piece like this, there's a gentleness about this, but the darkest dark allows the story to come through. And I'm going to be honest with you, I end up using my hands. There's no tool as good as your fingertips. I'm going to keep working on these. Paint along. At some point, you know, there's some beautiful lines. If you look at the close of this pencil line is showing through in the most soft, gorgeous way. And then I'm bringing in a little bit heavier. So there's thick, there's thin, there's transparent, there's solid. It's just a nice variety of what's going on in this piece. So you can see we have a really great series going on here. I am really liking this piece. This brush is almost dry right now and scratching in. It's adding some really neat energy. You might even, need to let your art set for a while and come back to it. As you build up these layers, come back in with your mark making tools. Let's add some more. This one is feeling a little organic, a little flowy, like a garden. Taking the line off the edge and around the corner. And sometimes I really like to come back into the dark areas with the charcoal and just highlight it and darken it a little more, smudge it softly. There are just endless things you can do. And the fun thing about working on these little pieces, look how you can just pick it up and go. So this dark is really dynamite up here, and I really want to emphasize that more. I want to have a big contrast between the darkest dark and the lightest light and translucent. Now, you can collage on these, you can use water-soluble markers, you can always use oil pastels, you can use just about anything you want. But today this series is acrylic paint, water-soluble medium, and mark-making tools. The little details, which I want to hold this up close, I really want to make this fascinating. I've had people look at my art and say, from far away I get the big picture, then I come up close and I see a detail and another detail and another detail and another layer. That's what you want to do. Hold them in, hold their interest, make their eye move around. Even if it's a tiny canvas, put stuff everywhere so their eye is moving around. Dark and light, soft, loud. Story, sometimes you just take a little piece and take it around the corner, and that makes them want to pick it up and go around the edge. So keep working on this. Keep working on your series. So we're down to one of the very final steps, sealing it with a polyacrylic seal. Today I am using the golden satin, which is the medium varnish, and it's already thinned down 50-50. I keep it in a big jug. And we're doing this small wood panel. And let me move the camera down so you can see. So get a super soft brush. And I usually make sure it's mixed up good. Just pour a little on top. And take that super soft brush and get it all around. Get the edges. And look how quick that happened. So when you line up and do a bunch of these all at once, it's pretty magic. So let that dry, and depending on your humidity, that will take anywhere from an hour or two to dry. And then I want you to come back and do a second coat, go horizontal one way, vertical the other way. And I set that on top of the little jar so it can drip free. So that's what it looks like when you create in a series of mini abstracts. And now that we're kind of at the end of the series and I'm going to keep playing with those, I want to show you two pieces, exact same palette of the Sunset Winter in Santa Fe. We have the quiet palette of the pink watermelon snow at night with a little bit of the citrus green. And then we have the softer palette of blues and greens. I love them both equally, but yet totally different, starting out with the same palette. So that gives you an idea of what working in a series can do for you. It gives you such a variety. Now let's talk a little bit about finishing these. When you're finished, you've sealed everything, it's nice and dry. All you have to do now is sign the back. I put my name, the title of the art, and then I have a rubber stamp. And on that stamp has my name, copyright, website, and then talks a little bit about that it's an aqua media, what the meaning is. And then on the side, I sign my name with a Sharpie oil pen, and this is in silver, but I also like gold or black. I put it on the side just because these are so small that signature across the bottom is just going to really blow away the great design. So that's how you finish them. No need to put a nail, no need to put wire or a sawtooth hanger. These are super duper lightweight. So you just put a nail in the wall and it'll hang on there. Or they look really cool sitting on a shelf, a bunch of them all together. So here at Santa Fe Artist Getaway, we are in my smaller studio called Studio Gray Fox. Next door is Studio Raven, which is a 2,000 square foot live-in art studio that you can come to for workshops or artist residencies. And when artists come for a residency, I invite them to leave one of these mini abstracts. We have a full wall of mini abstracts of artists that were here. And I wanted to show you what they have left because there's such a beautiful variety. So this is a collage from Glenda Green. Isn't that gorgeous? Vibrant colors and some Asian writing. Pearl Berger from New York did this gorgeous sunset landscape. Audrey Phillips, who is teaching 2 workshops here this summer in June and October, did this beautiful abstract floral. And look what Audrey did on the edges. She took the colors from the front and color blocked it around the edges. What a beautiful finish. Thank you for this one, Audrey. Elise Marshall from California did the Red Raven. Thank you, Elise, because she knew Studio Raven is named after the ravens that play around here on the sky. So she left us a beautiful raven. Pat Pritchard left this one, another collage with some asemic writing. Asemic writing is writing, you think it's writing, but it doesn't actually say anything, and it's a great background layer. Diane Williams left this beauty. Diane collaged layers of paper and writing. Diana and her husband Chuck Potter will be back this summer in September teaching a deeper sense of place. How do you infuse a sense of place into your abstract art? Holly Woodman did this. Isn't it gorgeous? Simple, a tulip. And again, she painted all around the edges. The simplicity of this is just amazing. Lauren Florence was here painting. Lauren did this earthy plant nature, just gorgeous, subtle. It reminds me of some beautiful wallpaper. Lauren is coming back this summer too. Lauren is teaching Cowgirls in Color workshop in July. So you'll learn how to paint women of the Wild West, go on a horseback ride if you want, and have dinner at Cowgirls. So check out Lauren's workshop. This is one of my favorite because Patty painted this of Dottie, and it's a collage and acrylic paint. And Dottie, you've seen her wandered around behind me. She's the studio dog, and when you come, she gets so excited to come greet you. And the last one that was left here, this is from Meredith, and it is so subtle. It's tone on tone with some stenciling and then highlights penciled in. I just love seeing all the mini abstracts, all the creative things you can do. So here's what I'm telling you. Go out and get your panels, go create, go have fun. Thank you all for joining us today on Making Mini Abstracts. I invite you to come here and create with me, in Santa Fe. Come for one of our amazing workshops, an artist residency. Come and create. There's no other place on earth like Santa Fe. Until then, happy creating.